I found out from experience that the potential within you is more powerful. Could I get my people together, coalition, a proposition? And my stated goals and accomplished missions. It's obvious nobody gives a damn. The cops and politicians, the judges never listen. So we come together like a marching band and formulate an empire. How can we keep the shooter uncomfortable? And that's to keep showing up in the community. Keep having events that make neighbors instead of strangers that live next door to each other, make them real life neighbors. You know, some people don't talk to each other. So then if your house is getting broken into and I don't talk to you, guess what? Your house gets broken into a lot. And then my house gets broken into. Who can you blame?
But that concept of talking to your neighbor, to me, stopped a long time ago. I mean, growing up, we all knocked on each other's door. My neighbor Susie came to try to get some sugar or got my trash bag. And that's how I think I started relationships. Now, over the last 10 years, all I've heard is I keep to myself. I mind my own business. Ain't nobody coming to my house. Whose kid is that? So that ain't my kid, and he ain't coming to be around him neither. So with that, it's going on in every race of people. It's even going on in my apartment building now. The first people to knock on my door was the police. That's when the police, oh my God, party out here. Well, somebody said that your music was loud, and then they knew it wasn't loud. I'm like, that's a dang on shame. Then when we tried to the first person to introduce yourself to shake my hand, people forgot that concept because it's been wrong because everybody's worried about self, mind, me, self. And you have to wait back. You have to actually be that old-fashioned person that just says, I'm gonna say hi. Right. It's gonna be corny. Right. Well, I was like, you know what? Instead of just thinking this point, you know, hey, man, sometimes this paperwork lets you know I'm not the enemy. And it's nice to recreate your enemy, put it on the outside of your safety zone. So, block parties allows people to have a safety zone. We did a peace march going down the street. We gathered a few people that said, hey, we're in on this movement. Even if it's just going down the street, around this corner to end up with a free barbecue. And, you know, whatever it is to break the ice. Because that old-fashioned lifestyle is just waiting for us to come back in. Right? It is. It's a person with a gun that's holding that security that we used to have. Right. He just freelance shooting. So you know what we doing? I'ma just stay home. Okay, nobody has bulletproof vests, but you can make them uneasy. And that's by group participation, showing up, getting your kids to come on, yo, we gonna do this barbecue, but we gonna march down the street and it's gonna end up at a barbecue.
Give us some self-conviction.
I didn't say you wasn't coming. And yeah, it's about a new program. They need a way out. They get hit left, right with negativity. They don't have the input, and we gotta do it. We have to be loud and we have to be boisterous.
I'm Trent Cruz. I'm a candidate for mayor in this year's 2017 election. So a lot of white supremacy and institutional racism is designed out of hate. And that hate's been amongst us since since slavery. So what white supremacy and institutional racism does, it teaches us how to hate ourselves and to hate our features, our skin color, everything about us. And then when we hate ourselves, it's going to have us hate people who look like us. And then when we hate people who look like us, it's easy to kill people who look like us. So I just think, if we can for a little bit, what kind of ideals can we start implementing to make us start loving each other and loving ourselves and loving our community? And I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Melody for this, and I'm going to write down whatever answers you guys come up with. And then we'll just...
Can you repeat the question?
What kind of ideals can we come up with to bring love back into our community? And to start making us just love one another? Because I think the reason why we are killing each other, why the youth are killing, and if I'm wrong, you know, if there's another reason why we're killing each other, but I think it's because of self-hate. So what are some solutions? These are good starts. Talk to your neighbor, block parties, peace march, but what are some other things that we can do to start bringing back love and unity in our community?
One thing that works for me is I have a Black Truce Facebook page. He has a Black St. Paul Facebook page. We find the good stuff about people of color and post it. Sometimes we do have to inform that, hey, something happened, shoot over here. But we go back and find the good stuff, like you were showing me earlier. The little girls overcome and doing the gymnastics. We have to bombard them with social media, positivity. That's one of my strategies. So if you have a chance and you go to Facebook, you have some stuff that's a way to recreate what you are as a Black person, African American. Because they don't see themselves as flipping and turning into a Olympic star because you flipping on a mattress. But if you just extend your mind just a little bit further, you can recreate their own actions. Something is happening that they don't see themselves as good.
And I think I did it backwards. So I said, I should go, why do we see ourselves that way? And why are we killing each other? Why is the violence like that?
Okay, I'll just say
I think it's kind of numbness. I think
first.
it's kind of numbness in the images and what they listen to, the type of music they listen to, and the images that they see. Even from 20, I was shocked. Me and my daughter, she was like, "Oh, Mom, let's watch." It was a gorgeous documentary, Boys in the Hood, Minister Society, New Jack City, and everything else. And when I was sitting here, I was blown, like, "Oh my God, it's still going on."
Get y'all.
And they're still receiving these images, so TV programming knows exactly what they're doing because they keep these images like the NWA movie, the Tupac. Why is it so important for our Black people to keep these images going in their minds? Something like hasn't changed. Nothing has changed since New Jack City. Nothing's changed since Boys in the Hood, and our kids are continuing to program this music and these images in their mind over and over and over and over. What do you think they're going to try to do?
They're gonna try to be Tupac and me.
Or they're either going to try to be better than that, or try to be in that mind world. So it's what they're putting in their mind, it's what they're putting in their ears, it's what they're seeing through their eyes. That's very, very important. TV programming, TV's equal to me. I'm sorry, it is. Because I see both of my kids change over the music they listen to when I try to warn my daughter, please, what is that gibberish? What is that? What is he saying? If you constantly hear somebody give a good head game, and she's thick, and she's this, and she's that, and she's this, and she's that, the poor people live in that area, what do you think they want to emulate? What do you think they're going to worry about making it up? Oh, am I thinking enough? Oh, am I doing this? Oh, is this hair routine just like the lady is on TV? Well, I'm on males too. That's what they're going to focus their attention on.
And they're gonna look down. So people are gonna
Look down.
too. So that's another thing. I will always say, fight fire with fire. So I think us making YouTube videos is something else that we have to do it because they're doing it to them. So we have to do it back to them.
My name is Michelle, and I came here, I live in Haiti, but I come here quite often because I love St. Paul. I'm from St. Paul, I was raised in St. Paul, and I don't like what I'm seeing in St. Paul. And I have a family here, and I wish everybody well, even if I don't know the people that are being affected, I'm affected by their downfall. And that's not okay with me. It really touches my heart. One of the ways that I have tried to do something is I went to protests and demonstrations and seminars and forums like this. Protest doesn't fix it. Protest, it doesn't stop there. But what it does do is it lets the mainstream know that the general population is discontent with the status quo.
Right.
I told you a couple of weeks ago, discontentment is the brainchild for the change. So they have to know, as long as we're silent and we stay home and we keep our doors shut, they're going to think that we're complacent and that we're satisfied with what's going on and that we're okay. We don't see it, we don't know about it, we don't want to know about it, and that's okay. And then that's their green card to come and keep exterminating our friends, our brothers, our sons, our cousins, our uncles, our fathers. You know, it's like, okay, I'm a single woman, I'm not married, but how do I know that they haven't killed my husband already? Because they need to stop. All this justification saying, I'm fearful for my life. I'm scared for my life too, but I'm not killing anybody. I'm not harming anybody. I'm trying to make sure they're okay. I'm trying to let them see another day. I think that if everybody gets a chance to live and be peaceful and be content, they can grow to their full potential. I mean, there's kids out here. What is their chances with all this stuff going on? If we don't stop it, just like the other, with this birdie coming back, boy, you know, to me, I can't believe it. I'm like, so, just forget the baby. I mean, even if they said that, even if they said manslaughter out of you and they're like two other people, you imagine the life of a child. This is not okay. And this the message that was sent was that it doesn't matter. It matters to me. It does. It really does.
I just remember, but I was just at my cousin, when Leslie Young, she had a gala, and I was at their gala the same day as HSRA's gala. So we went to both, and she had a guest, and he was saying about how the power of suggestion is like where you tell them, you see what they're into, and they're into that, like rap, you was talking about rap songs and stuff like that, they into that. You know what I'm saying? But when you tell them that, nah, you can't do all that, you can't do that, that's what draws them closer. You know what I'm saying? So now, if there's some way that you can maybe show them a better way through what they like and through that music, you know what I'm saying? That's another way to get to the older kids, you know what I'm saying?
And young son, I work with kids and in kindergarten, I see, I get upset when I see girls work in kindergarten. And I'm like, stop. No, they just didn't try to get mad. I see young brothers doing stuff that they're working too. Right. Stop. You know what I'm saying? So, but this is serious stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, it's, what you're saying is music is very important. Music is
Very important. That's why
it's not it's powerful. You hear a beat drum, or you hear a drum, that can mean words, or it can mean it's time to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that so even when the kids hear a beat, they might think, oh, it's time for war.
Yeah, you start feeling that.
You feel that in you, like, ooh.
You gotta be careful.
You know, it's like, ooh. So they go, ooh. That's where it activates. You know what I'm saying? It's like, ooh. So now that the word is going through them, and then everything is hitting the frequencies in their head. It's because we run off of certain frequencies. I don't really get down to the science, but it'll be over y'all's head. But, no, real talk. But like I said, when I finish this conversation, I'm digressing. So I want to get back with the music, because I was gonna meet a buddy of mine in John Thompson. We were gonna do an event, try to find some funding. We were gonna throw an event. We were gonna have big old on stage and have some performances and stuff like that. And we were gonna do a little raffle. Yeah, a little raffle and everything to get everybody to come together. And we was gonna get somebody to lay it out on no filter. You know what I'm saying? Check it out. This is what you can do. You can do anything you want to be and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do this in the summer. But I think, like I said, like using Kendrick Lamar, because some songs I don't like that he makes, but some songs is real powerful, real knowledgeable. You know what I'm saying? So we can hit them with that, you know, with that certain music, and with certain music, even if they like Young Thug or something like this, Young Thug wax.
To me, you could put a CD together. You gotta find the music for the kids, so we have that. They got something they call them together. Because music, it's taking, and music is my savior. I mean, there's gospel rap, the paint. Wait a minute, he said Jesus. Yes, he did. He was already brought to heal and the people. He's a artist, a lot of people that he's helping other people. He does
because he's got a Christian background and he got some books there. But you know, I'm trying to get myself together and get my proposals. I came up with a program for youth with music because I noticed that that's a way to express yourself. It could be political, it could be poetic, it could just be self-expression, it could be therapeutic. And there's all kinds of different ways to express yourself. And the program is called My Brother and My Sister's Keeper. And yes, and basically it's a music media thing because I think that we need to get out there, and it's really the youth, the kids that really need to get out there because they're the ones that we're going to pass the baton to. So we need to teach them how to run once they get it. And so right now I have someone who is into they just graduated with big masters in cyber stuff. So they're trying to help me to get, because I want to basically place that has like their own mainframe and that would have that, and then they have a way so that they can store their music, and then it would teach them how to copyright their music and how to you know, get their rights and their royalties and stuff, and so that it would show them how to make it and how to make the money, and then it would have the asset. Because it's a whole thing. You know, you're looking at starting with one thing. It's a musical though, but then you're teaching on like lessons, creativity, therapeutic. You're going into future endeavors, yes, and then you're trying to help them expand into what they want to go to school for, what they want, you know, and try to get them to think about the possibilities. Even if they've never been to college or somebody in their family hasn't, that doesn't limit us to not being able to go. You know, I was raised that we can do anything we want to. They're not grasping onto that anymore. And everybody wants somebody else to do something for them, or they want, you know, and it's not that everybody wants people to do it, because I don't want people to do it. I would rather do it for myself. I would rather get it myself and then have it. People appreciate what they had to obtain and not what was just granted them.
Right.
And so to teach them and to give them that and to encourage them, to let them know that there's people that are there for them. We're going to be here for you, and we want you to soar. And then once you get up there, reach back down and help somebody else. You know, and so don't forget where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing right now is that music is something that can cause violence in our community, but it also could be a tool to help
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to help and heal our community, and maybe even create some economics. What are some other reasons that you guys think that there's violence besides music that might contribute to the violence in our community?
Well, you know what? I'm Lisa, and not to talk about the violence so much, but you're saying, well, what can we do to get back to loving one another? You know, well, I'm finding that there's a lot of young people who are becoming parents at a younger age than ever before. So if you're 12, you're 13, you're having a baby. Obviously, you're 12 and 13, so your mom is what? 32? Maybe not even quite that old. So mom don't know nothing. So who is to teach these 12-year-olds? You know, listen, I have a friend whose son had a baby, well, conceived a child. He was 14. The girl was 12. So how do you teach your child something? You're 12 years old. And the girl, she still walks around like this. Now she's got her thumb in her mouth. You're a mother, but she's really not a mother. She had a baby, but she has nobody to really help her. Her mom, and she's the baby. Her mom drinks a lot, you know, and her mom is kind of, you know, work a lot, drink a lot. So her and her 14-year-old sister, the sister's 14 now, I think she just made 15. They're raising themselves, plus her child. So there's really not a lot of people to help these people. I mean, outside of their family, you know, or within the family. Outside, yes, you know, people like you all, myself, and older people, but they ain't trying to hear what I'm talking about, because I'm 53, you know, and I'm still old school. So there's some things that's never going to change in me. My kids are 26 and 30. They be like, Mom, that was way back then. That was then, this is not. No. That was then, and this is now. And that stuff is still in me. You know, because some of the things that I see, there ain't nowhere in the world I could have said or done in front of my parents.
Right.
I don't have no teeth, no eyes, no ears, no nothing. You You know, we sit around, well, we have company, we do this, we do that, and the kids was all there. That wasn't allowed when I was a kid. You know, so who's going to teach the kids anything, you know? Then some parents can't say nothing to their children, you know, because they going to get at you. But then nowadays you can't say nothing to the kids because the kids going to get at you. You know what I'm saying? So who's really available to the kids? So how can they be neighborly when they're still babies, having babies? Who's going to teach them to be neighborly, to love themselves so they can go outside and love, you know, their neighbor?
So this is a tough conversation because we're talking about child support, we're talking about babies having babies, but then we're talking about the family structure too. So what if over 75% or 80% of our kids in our community are born out of wedlock? The traditional family structure is not working for us today. So I think there's nothing wrong with black people saying, this is what a family looks like for us, and this is how a family works. This is a family for us might not be a husband, a wife, and 1.5 children with a picket fist. It might be, this is Wooty Woo's baby's mom, they're together. That's my cut. Just different family structures. I think another thing is to looking back in our history to Africa to see how was our families constructed before we were brought into slavery, and what solutions did we use for our family structure before we were slaves. Because we're at a point right now where we're at 80% single parent female households. I'm not saying it's normal, but once you get past 50%, that's the norm in our community. So how do we say what's the black family structure look like to us, and then add that to confronting violence?
The reason why it's 80% or more women heading the household is because where are our men? And for stuff that they shouldn't even be in there for. Some of them haven't even done it. But, you know, whatever, I'm not going to go into all the details or the intricate parts of that. But this is what's going on. It's a dissecting of our families. And it's like, we have to be the glue to hold it together. Sometimes we have to step in and do things that we're not used to doing or we're not accustomed or built to do because we're survivalists. And that's what we're trying to do. And then, you know, back to what you were saying about the music. My children and I were recently watching a show about Native Americans, and they were talking about how we're all connected to the earth and all this stuff. And then they were doing the drums, and I could feel it. I could just feel the drum. And I started chanting, and I was saying the same thing they were saying. They said, "Do you know the song? Did you see the show before?" And I'm like, "Man, you know I ain't seen the show before." But it just proved what they were saying about we're all connected. How would I know the words to a song I never heard before? You have to think about it.
I was just kind of listening, you know, to everyone's discussion, and I'm enjoying this. But on a bigger scale, I mean, what I'm hearing and what we're discussing about again is those unresolved traumas, that cycle of abuse and the way we've coped as a community, as a people. No matter where your people come from, you know, if you're non-white, you have some percentage and some level of historical trauma, intergenerational trauma. You have, you know, from your grandmother's trauma, you're still feeling that. And that's when I think about, you know, when you at times feel that sadness, feel that hurt, feel that hollowness, and you have no idea why. It's because of that unresolved trauma, you know, from the past, from your own too. You know, the way I describe it, or the way I look at it too, is, you know, that, you know, we're marinated in trauma. We've been marinated in trauma since birth, even in the womb, because our mothers have always been in their stress. Our mothers, our grandmothers that have carried, you know, those seeds have always been in trauma, have always been in that survival mode, had to figure out what to do, how to go about things. But the thing is too is that womb feels everything the mother is going through. So that cortisol is pumping in that womb until it's born. So you're already fed trauma, unconsciously, because your mother, your grandmother had to carry on, had to move, had to survive. And when you're born into trauma. You're always in that survival. And that's a concept that, again, I'm working on, I'm developing, but again, how do we, stop surviving and how do we start living? And again, it is really layery. It has a lot of layers. There's a lot of, aspects to our communities and why it happens. And a lot of it, I look at it again, is that unresolved trauma where you do have families or individuals, having young ones, but they don't have that guidance for whatever reason. The coping skills and the way to behave and respond and to deal with stress is a negative way, is an unhealthy way, and you have those cycles because of the trauma. And I look at it as a filter. When we're looking at our communities. And it just gets darker and darker as we keep going down through that trauma, through that filter. So like our kids nowadays, they're in that tar. They're like waist deep in that muck of trauma. And then we wonder why they seem so just not with it. They seem so wild, they seem so angry. But again, it's all that trauma that we carry, unconsciously. And that's something that, I'm working on, that I'm developing. I'm actually doing some series about it. I would like to give you some flyers and some information on it. You can connect it. We were talking about a native film. I'm actually doing one on the 15th of July, and it's going to be an evening showing. There'll be refreshments and all that. But basically, this movie right here, it takes a look at how that Hollywood Indian came about, or how non-Indian people, when they think Indian, they think of feathers, they think of teepees, they think of buffalo, they think of certain things. But that concept, again, from the status quo, from that dominant society, created that. And this talks about that in the phases. And it's very moving, very powerful. So I would like to give it to it at the end, But again, on a larger thing, we are talking about those hurts that have never been resolved. Because if you talk about, slavery, if you talk about, that moment, that time within your community, when it was over, did you get counseling? At that time, was there, groups created to help you heal? Or where they say, just get over it and try to find a job and try to live? That was the thing, and again, it's unresolved trauma.
And to piggyback on that, we get this unresolved trauma, and before we can heal or find a way to process it, here comes some more, and then some more, then some more.
Yes.
And then we're supposed to get over it. I have yet to see, like when trauma happened with your son, was there a gathering for the youth between this age and this age so we can come together and talk about our feelings? Did we have volunteer social workers, people that's dealing with mental health there, people who's dealing with illicit drug use there, to speak to the kids and ask them their opinion of what's happening? In my years in Minnesota, after a tragedy with a teenager, it has something to do with black youth and black people. It's always we're marching and stuff, but we never get the youth together or these services together in our corner to help us deal with those issues at hand.
And I'm glad you said that, because I've lived in Minnesota for a long time. My oldest son's father is Ronnie Small. He got shot and killed. Gun violence, 1993. Okay, here it is, 2017. Moving forward. Graduated the kids, 3 boys, 1 girl. Boys graduated. Fresh out of high school. He gets shot dead. Talk about having to come up with a way to cope quick and keep it moving. Life doesn't stop, and it doesn't stop for you because you're going through. The casework is still going to call. the programs on the TV still gonna diminish your mind. A lot of people are not gonna unite with you because your son was shot by their cousin's cousin. You have no idea why you're being alienated. Like it has something to do with mine. Oh no, it's the kids, and the social media. And this mom is going, she know who you are, but I don't know who she is. Yeah, but she's avoiding you with the unity thing because she knows who you are. But what it is you're gonna be more loyal to an out of control set of children with a low set of values instead of pushing and saying, come here, little Tyrone, because I think y'all have something to do with this. And I think you need to talk to this lady so she can figure out what's going on while her son can't talk. That didn't happen for me. I'm like, you know what? It don't need to happen. I'll make it happen for somebody else. Black truth. I can do it. You know what I'm saying?
This is what I'm saying. When things happen that are out of our control, and we may or may not know who the perpetrator is, how do we retaliate? We have to band together.
Yeah.
So give me a hug.
I just said truce on the fighting. I need you.
What is about?
You.
Gonna
You know
be too much.
It is. Because we can't afford to have another set of children making the war. That's just how I look at it. I made this up because I was like, hold on, I want them to know we count. So I'm looking for some Velcro numbers to smack up there, but I didn't want to start it because this is where the county started for us. This is our peace march, 17. We was devastated in St. Paul. The 17th murder was Van Dyke. No. The 17th murder was the girl on Van Dyke.
Oh, the
No, not Sedona. The last one, the shooting.
Oh,
on Van
that
Dyke.
week
Oh, it's the other day, yeah, by the house.
Oh, the
That
little
was
girl.
17. There's
The
been
2-year-old.
No, this is the Van Dyke. The
girl in the car.
16-year-old, the black girl in the car. She was number 17. After that,
Oh, at the gas station?
25 now. 23.
This is what I'm saying. There's too many. You can't even keep track. That's what
Yeah,
she's trying to
yeah.
say.
See?
That's what she said. Before
Sad.
we keep our tabulations, they're escalating.
Here we
Yeah.
go again. And you know what? You could do a nice extensive search per shooting, and it's nothing. It'd be somebody took somebody weed. Somebody said something on Facebook. These little things grew to a life being taken.
There's no motive no more. You know, what's the motive? There is no motive.
Right.
We just because.
I don't need to dominate the conversation.
No,
Go back to your question of what can we do to restore the love? I asked myself the same question. I came up with about 14 programs that I'm trying to get started. And one of them, I realized, and I looked at a few specific cases in general, and then I looked at them all together. One of it is that there's a lack of respect. Respect for people's space, for their lives, for their humanity, for their families, for themselves sometimes even. And see, I was thinking about the police, how some of the departments have removed the serve and protect off of their cars. And I thought we need to have an initiative where they all put that back on there, but they need to add that serve, respect, and protect. Because if they put that serve, respect, and protect, then police are coming in here and you call and you come. The police come. They're treating you like you did something. Like you're the criminal, and you're asking for help. The next thing you know, you're in handcuffs because you're trying to explain your situation.
Like the sister that just next week we'll be having a town hall meeting over here somewhere on the east side. It might be back here about the sister who got shot
In Seattle.
Seattle was killed by the police.
By the police. And she called the police.
She called the police for help, and she ended up dead by the people she called for help. So we want to make sure, like you're saying, respect, serve, protect.
Yes.
And protect the
Maybe the police
people who
need
have mental health issues.
Maybe the police need to add a mental health counselor that rides with them in their cars so they can come home.
Assigned personally.
I think they need to not be
Tooth
with them.
and nail, not to happen in Minnesota.
You know what?
Somebody
I have an initiative for that too.
It's very mandatory.
It's part of the my sisters and brothers program. Basically, it would be. It's just look, I have
should never say
the whole thing on my computer, like the outline or whatever. But it's citizens banding together. See, now I believe that like just because we're regular citizens, I believe we should still get some training. But I know that we have some more sensitivity than some of these trained officers, just by common sense alone. Now, with a little training and a little other things, and there's different things. I think that there should be citizens that should be able to come. Like the natives, they have their tribunals and different stuff like that. But we need to come and fashion something similar to rebuild our community and strengthen our community. That's the problem. We don't feel any power. We're not emulating any power. We're wanting it, but we're not feeling it. We're not tapping into it. And we need to do that. We need to do that. And it needs to start out with each individual, and it needs to go to different levels in the schools, at the workplace, at the home, and in the community, in church. Just if everybody respected each other, I could serve my community by coming to this meeting and hearing you guys and giving my opinion. And we have a conversation and we come up with ideas.
No, this is
I can
beautiful.
respect
This
you,
doesn't happen that much.
but I can respect you by listening and validating your importance of what you said. And I can protect you by, look, I got pulled over in a car stop. This man and another lady pulled over, and they made sure that I was okay and that nothing happened to me. They talked to the officer. They knew it was unfounded why I got pulled over. But it made me feel good. He said, ma'am, I don't feel comfortable leaving you here with this man. And it just made me feel good to know that people are watching and nothing's going to happen. I was in the car with my grandson. And
So why do we feel uncomfortable? Where did that thought to make us feel uncomfortable with the police and with higher authority? Where did that? I even sometimes get nervous. Sometimes like with the police, because, why are we nervous? And I'm legit. Why are we nervous? Because they have a history of taking our lives, and for you to be, not paranoid when you're around a uniformed person that feels like they have the right to take a life. That's the energy we're trying to break with the kids. You don't have a right to take a life. Have you ever tried inviting the uniformed police officers to one of your discussions and having a discussion with them about how they feel?
No.
they might be better coming without their
Well,
Right now, right now,
what was my idea?
what you're talking about, and stuff like that, again, is trauma. Because I can say, I feel that uncomfortability. I, feel those flashbacks, that PTSD. We have PTSD around law enforcement because growing up very small, I remember that imagery of that officer, not the person, not the individual, but that blue shirt, those black pants, that shiny badge, gold or silver, ripping away my family, telling me negative things about my family, the ones I loved, the ones I respected, the ones that I felt special to. They always did that consistently. And you have negative events and negative experiences over and over again. And then as you grow up, that's that PTSD. And it's just, again, that trauma, and it's consistent because those experiences in that environment never changes, even with our kids. Right or not?
They're not trained.
We have the question, like I was saying before, like how and why our neighborhood is feared. Because I remember being right up the street on 8th Avenue, the 300 Hispanic people coming from the club, drunk, 300, and we were all sitting in line to get something to eat. This place closed at 4 o'clock in the morning. Not one uniformed police officer was there at that time in the morning. And I'm looking at my friend that's from out of town. I said, you see this? Where's the police? I don't know. But let it be us. Why is they would have been blocking the door, telling us too much? Why is that? I want to know how come there was no police coverage there? Why does it have to be there at our events, our Rondo days, the 4th of July celebrations where all the people of color hang, or if there's Hispanics there? But at that celebration there, not one uniformed officer, period. And I was just shocked.
Why is that?
And that's
Because they feel like, and they know us, these kind of people, we're ignorant sometimes. We can be ignorant. We do act ignorant. So guess what? We come together, they figure, oh, they don't know how to celebrate. They're going to act a fool. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. So you know what? We need a whole SWAT team, you know, from Roseville, every county. Because why? Oh, they're ignorant. You know, we've been labeled as being ignorant since before time. So they take that and they use that against us. And so, well, you know what? We need a crowd over here. We need this police department. We need them because, you know, things are going to get out of hand. And sometimes they do. But see, we're not the ones that's blowing up nations.
right.
Now, granted, we do kill one another, and I God so pray every day and pray that stops. But we ain't killing police officers. We're not blowing up movie theaters. You know, we're not blowing up churches and stuff.
Right.
We kill one another, and that's terrible. You know, that needs to stop. But you got these other people that they blow up the churches. You know, they blow up the movie theaters,
Yeah.
the airports. But we're the ones that look that might get.
And they took them for McDonald's.
They took him to Burger King.
Or whatever.
Right, you get to eat before you go to jail.
But one of us wouldn't have even made it to the big
Right.
It translates as an incentive, doesn't it? Even if it looks like Burger King. No, what criminal that does a mass shooting gets this treatment right here? We don't even get this treatment walking across the street when we encounter y'all. So much less a person that just came from a mass shooting. Like this is good. This don't make no. This is a bad message.
One thing that I've been thinking about for years is that what has changed since Martin Luther King? What has changed since Malcolm X? What has changed? Because, like I said, I continuously see and hear the same thing over and over. And when did Obama change? When is change going to come? When? Because we sit here and talk about it and march and protest and talk about it. You know, I talk to a lot of our elders. People that's about 85 years old that come to my place of work, and I ask them, everybody that's an elder, what has changed since you were before? 1938, okay. I mean, what do you see that's different from black people in 2017? And they be like nothing. I mean, a band-aid was put on it a little bit. We can ride in the front of the bus, we can own our own business in certain areas and stuff. But as far as how the world look at us, nothing's changed. And something is wrong with that.
People say, well, like I told my daughter the other day, you know, all this marching, all this protesting, you know, I'm not gonna march because for one, I got 2 bad hips. And I got 2 bad hips. I had 3 hip surgeries in the last year, and I'm still trying to heal. I got a walker that's in the car, so I'm fat and run, so I'm not protesting. I'm not against it, but when you get to the end of the protest line, then what? Now what when we get to the end of the line? My daughter said, well, we're making a statement. What does your statement say? What are you going to do? What does your statement say? I told my daughter, I said, because now we're at the end of Selby, or we're at the end of the university, or we're at the end of Broadway. Now what?
And what happened after this protest?
That's what I'm saying.
6/17.
Now,
What happened? 6/16. What happened?
And then when we was at the forum last week, the mayor stood up and talked first, and he said, well, you know, I'm sorry by saying, you know, good afternoon, good evening, woo, woo, woo. And you know what? I really don't have any answers. So I really don't even know why they were there, because it was a forum.
Right.
And I know that forums, people talk, you know, but people came inquisitive. People had questions, and it wasn't like statements that they were making. They were little questions nobody could answer. You know, and I told them, I'm like, you know what, about this verdict thing, I don't understand. First of all, you guys said that you wanted the police officer who was in the wrong to have a fair trial. You didn't want a biased jury. The jury was biased right from the beginning.
Yes.
First of all, everybody knows that women can be more biased than men. You had nine
Women on the jury.
There's 6 women, 2 African Americans. That's biased as hell if you ask me. Right from the beginning. I know I can be biased at times, and I know I think differently than you men. So, you know why they had 9 men? Because they figured the 9 men would be the one to hold it together and, you know, help get that, you know, non-guilty verdict. You got 2 African Americans, which finally, we don't sit on the jury too often. And when we do, you get the opportunity to make the right decision, and you don't have enough humanity or empathy to do what's right. Now, I told the mayor and I told the police officer, Ty asked him, I said, I don't have nothing against y'all because I don't know y'all. But I'm going to tell you this. You know why you don't know what to do? Because it wasn't your parent. It wasn't your mother. It wasn't your grandmother. It wasn't your auntie. And it wasn't your great-grandchild in that backseat. Because granted, had it been Officer Axel's wife and little Bella,
Right.
you know, or had it been Chris Coleman's wife and Maria or, you know, Bethany,
Yeah.
I guarantee you would know what to do.
That's right.
So
That's right.
we love ours just like y'all love y'all. And guess what? We all, if you cut yourself, what color is your blood? Red. Guess what? Mine is too. Ain't
So
got
there was white supremacy and institutional racism was being practiced. I want to go back to what she said about the police and what you're saying. So, and that's why we call this meeting a self-hate awareness and prevention, because you're saying that the police are trained to kill or trained to fear black people, but we're also trained to fear each other too. So the same messages that they're getting through the media, through social media about fear black men, fear black people, or black women are a certain way, or black men are a certain way. White people pick up on those messages, but we also pick up on those messages too. Quicker, and we act on them too. So that's one reason why I think that we end up killing each other. So I think we found a good solution. I think one of the solutions is media, where we can start making, whether not just music, but even TV programs. A lot of TV programs or news media depicts us in a negative light. If we have our own news like this right here, we can send out our own images. We can make our own books. We can make our own stories and tell our story from the lens that we want to portray ourselves from. In reality and truth too, because we don't want to make up fairy tales about, you know,
Part to that is
there's a reason for fairy tales in this too.
another good point to that is that the police are confiscating people's cell phones.
Yeah.
So with the My Brothers and Sisters Keeper thing, that's a valid press thing. I intend to have a regular publication pushed out and stuff like that. They wouldn't be able to, because then you have your freedom of the press. You know, the Constitution gotta back you up. You like, I mean, it was there, and we've been pushed all these lies. And you know how they say you tell a lie long enough, the lie becomes true. Let's make it so. Let's make it so. We gotta learn how to take this system that they built against us and make it for us.
And I asked, I know this is on our second or third one, if we do have a TV series or a YouTube series, can we name it something like exposing black hate? Yeah, just something like that.
Something edifying, the positive.
But it's the thing, we gotta
click on it if it's
we gotta
not
go
positive.
home.
Yeah.
We gotta go home and watch TVs and movies and come back together and be like, that right there is a program, and it's embedded in whatever the show is. It has to be us exposing the black hate.
And it's gonna pop up on the YouTube up in the algorithm, because you gotta match, you gotta put in certain tags. Yeah.
I think that would be one of the best things, because like there's a TV, there's so many things embedded in making us think you're not worth it, you're not good. You know, really have to change that program. You have to stop that music, you have to turn that channel, or you have to create a show that is exposed to it.
Okay. That's serious.
Boom.
Why does that make you scared? So what do you think we should do about it?
They can hear you speak a little louder. They can hear you speak a little louder.
Allow it.
Do nothing. stop killing us, right? Yeah. Sorry. We went to a doctor's appointment and they didn't have no color books out, so she asked me for some paper and I was on my phone. You know how you just look at your phone. And I looked down at her paper and it said Justice for Philando on her paper. And then she went and asked for another piece of paper. And I said, you know, it kind of shocked me for a minute. She, out of nowhere, I looked down and I'm like, huh? And she asked for another one. She started drawing him. And then on the shirt she put R.I.P. And then she said, that should not happen. You need justice. And, you know, stuff like that where she wrote down. And she went into the doctor's office and she showed the lady. And the lady gave her pieces of tape. Now, we a woman. She came outside. We walked and she holds the sign up. And people kind of trying to read it. And she looked and stopped and said, Mama, why they ain't supporting me? Because they ain't black? And I said, I don't think they can read it. You know, I don't know, baby. You know, I just left it like that. And then, we laughed. And then I just took a picture of it and put it on Facebook for people to see. But it was out of nowhere that she drew that. But she loves politics. Carl.
See, this is why I thought of my brother and sister's keeper. Because of people like her. If we can bring her up in the way of a politician, when she gets old enough, when she becomes 18, she'll know. She'll be civic-minded. She'll know the processes. You know what? Some of the immigrants know more about our process than we do. We are born and raised.
We done all fell for promises they promised to keep, but the secret is our society. Let's stop doing drugs and nurture the body and sit down and watch and see. You can learn a lot from the heartbeat. The blacker the berry, the less bitter the sweet. Listen, there's God that speaks. Living the life of heat, so we fight till we free and we keep moving on to pick each other up on their feet. It's not an option, it's a priority. I ride for my people all the way till you bury me. This is a street screaming SOS, Lord, can you hear me reach? Struggling to reach the peak, to find a real G at rest. Finally. It's time to make a move. Black Arts.